So now we're off to West Virginia. We've packed up probably a little U-Haul because we just had clothes and stuff. A few households, pans and dishes, towels, sheets. We didn't really have much of anything. So we moved in with Granny Lizzie Sturm, and her husband already been passed away for a long time. And she was happy to have us. I slept in the bedroom with her. She had two bedrooms. Her bedroom that was for her and her husband, my mom and stepfather slept in. His name was Thomas Allman. My mom's name is Margaret Francis. And it was Lizzie Sturm, Elizabeth Sturm, and her husband's name was Perry. And they lived in Belington, West Virginia, all their lives. I don't think that woman ever been anywhere else but living in Belington. And it was a working farm in their day. It had cows and chickens and maybe a few horses. I mean, and it had gardens. And she had gardens her whole entire life. I mean, when she couldn't plow up the ground herself, then, you know, they got a neighbor to come over. Her one son lived across the field from her, and he had a chicken farm. And he used to bring her a dozen broken eggs every morning. And none of her other children, they would like squabble about who was going to pay for her $30 a year for the coal shed. And they all would fight about it. They didn't want to give her the money. So my stepfather used to send her $30 cash in the mail. That's how you did back then, in a letter. I mean, he really loved his mom. And she was a good lady. And he would always send it to her faithfully every winter so she could fill up her coal shed for the winter. And she would go out there and shovel a big black coal bucket full of coal and then bring it in the house, put it in her little coal stove that was in the living room. And then faithfully about 3:30 in the morning, she'd fill it up. No, she filled it up the night before, and then she'd start the fire. And it would heat up the whole house. I mean, all of a sudden you were nice and warm and toasty. And she had a slop jar under her bed. She said, "Polly, if you have to pee, you just get up and you pull out the slop jar and you pee in it." Because I wasn't allowed to go out, you know, in the middle of the night to the outhouse to use the toilet. My mom would take me out there and hold on to me while I sat in the outhouse, because she was so scared that I was going to fall in. It took her a while before she would actually let me go out there by myself. And we collected rainwater barrels around the house. That's what we did laundry in, and that's what you took a bath in on Saturday morning. There were some farms. There was farms around us. I know one night my stepfather had to go up to a farm and put down a horse that was ailing. So they called for him to come up and shoot it. We had a loaded shotgun sitting in the corner of the room, and I was told never to touch it because it was loaded, and I could, you know. So anyways, I never touched it. And then that winter that we were there, my stepfather got the tallest tree he could find, because that was like a 20-foot high ceiling. That living room was really big. It was the biggest room in the house. And he got the highest, biggest, and it was like the Chevy Chase Christmas movie, Christmas tree. It was real big, and it was kind of sparse. Had a lot of empty spaces, and missing branches. But anyways, he found the tallest tree he could find, dragged it in, made a wood frame for it. We all pushed it up into the corner of the room. It touched the ceiling. And we made, popcorn strands and paper decorations. We decorated that tree with all kinds of paper decoration. So it was a nice Christmas. I remember that Christmas. It was cute. It was fun. I don't remember what I got. I remember getting socks for Christmas. And maybe I used to get a new skirt and a new shirt and a new pair of Oxford shoes. for school. That's all I got. One girl in school said to me, "How many pairs of shoes do you have?" I said, "One." She goes, "Is that all?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, I have 5 pairs of shoes. Don't you have any other shoes?" I says, "No." And I was not allowed to kick rocks. I was not allowed to scuff out the soles of my shoes walking to school. I better not get caught doing that. That's it. That's all I was getting for school. And we used to walk to school in the winter. I would walk down the corner and then meet up with my 2 cousins, Mike and Ralph. And then we walked through town, across this little bridge. Had a lot of holes in the bridge. My mom said, "Be very careful because you could fall over and into the river and you'll die." That's what she said. "You're gonna die, you'll die. So you make sure you just walk and hold on to something." But anyways, we cross over and then we go to the right, and there was Tiger Billington Elementary School. And I went there for probably a year, close to a year. And I got a permanent for my birthday, and it was real frizzy. The lady next door came over and gave me a permanent. I guess she left it in too long, and my hair was like this. It was terrible. And Grandma Lizzie used to wash her clothes and put starch in them, and my shirts were so stiff they would stand up. I was so mad because my shirts were stiff and I could just slide my hands down into them because I was real little and skinny. And I didn't like that. And the teacher corrected my English because I said "the." She said, "What's this word?" I said "the." She said, "No, it's the." And I said, "No, it's the." And I said, "We don't say it like that up in Buffalo," because I was down in the South now. So I'm sorry, I wasn't wrong. She just didn't know. So anyway, she didn't say anything. I said, "That's not how we say it up in Buffalo." But anyways, so we lived there. My mom and Lizzie were getting along pretty well. I guess we get into it once in a while, 2 women living together and working in the kitchen, how it doesn't go very well. And my mom used to like to make cakes, and she liked to make these pineapple upside down cakes. She made those all the time. And in April, she made a pineapple upside down cake, and somehow they got into a fight over it. I was in school, and somehow the cake got thrown out in the yard, and they got into a big fight, and my mom had to leave. And so she was in downtown, and she picked me up from school, and we didn't go back to the house, and we were in town, and my stepfather, I don't know, she met up with him, and so we had to rent a room in town, and then we had to figure out, what we were going to do, because Lizzie had thrown us out of her house. And my stepfather went to a bar and was drinking, and he come back to the room all black and blue. He was all bruised up. He got into a fight with some guy in a bar. And we were living in this hotel room in town. And so my mom and him were kind of into it, but then she said, "I'm going back to Buffalo." So she got on a pay phone, and you know how you could call and say, not answer, and they would call you back. So Carol called her back. She goes, "What's the matter, Margaret?" She goes, and she told her that, what was going on, that she got into a fight, and then her and him, she was wanting to leave him and come back to Buffalo. She goes, "Will you just come back up here, Margaret? Come on, you and Paula, just come back up here. You come right back here." So, but then my stepfather got upset about that. So he packed us all up, and we went back to Buffalo. So I went to a different school for like the last April, May, couple months of school. I went to a different school back in Buffalo, back in the same neighborhood. So that was, I think, 2nd grade. And so So now we're back to Buffalo. Now, mind you, I went to 19 schools by the time I graduated high school. We started out in Buffalo. My mom marries him. We go to West Virginia. And so by then I've gone to like 3 schools. And then we leave there, we go back to Buffalo. 3rd grade, I'm in a school in Buffalo, New York. And then we were living in Tally Valley of Buffalo. My mom hated the Italian. I'm Italian, we're Italian. But she did not like to live on the west side with the Italians. She hated them. So we were in this nice little apartment. It was a nice apartment, nice landlord. She got into a fight with the lady next door. I don't know. You know, I come home and she's yelling at my stepfather. We're going to have to move. I'm not staying here. I hate this neighborhood. I hate these people. So we ended up moving someplace else. And I don't know where I was going to school then, but anyways, so it was winter. I'm out of school now and I'm running the neighborhood.